This is Beyond the Verdict. I'm John Horford with Myrene double ear infection Cook and Christina fresh off a girls trip Horford.
What? You came on the trip.
No, you were on the girls trip when we recorded the last episode.
Yes.
Last week.
Aw.
Yeah, Christina, I'm not going to lie. I was a little jealous. I'm like, I need a girls trip.
She said that in the episode. She's like, I'd rather be doing that. And I was like, I don't blame you.
Of course. Love girl time.
Don't blame you at all. So today we have another listener suggestion case, a case that Christina is going to take the lead on.
Oh, well, I'll give you a brief overview. We're talking about Michael Peterson and the staircase.
And the owl?
No. Yes. No.
We're not there yet, John.
We're not there yet. It's an imaginary one. So anyways, Michael Peterson, actually, I shouldn't even start with him. Kathleen Peterson, his wife, was found dead at the bottom of the staircase in their home. And he called 911, which I kind of want you to insert the 911 call because it sounds so eerily similar to me to Alec Murdaugh.
911, where's your emergency?
Cedar Street, please.
What's wrong?
My wife had an accident. She's still breathing.
What kind of accident?
Still on the stairs. She's still breathing. Please come.
Is she conscious?
What?
Is she conscious?
No, she's not conscious.
Okay.
Please.
How many stairs did you fall down?
Huh?
How many stairs?
Stairs.
How many stairs? Calm down, sir. Calm down.
No, 15, 20, I don't know. Please, get somebody here right away. Please.
Okay, somebody's dispatching the ambulance while I ask you questions.
It's in Forest Hills, okay? Please.
Okay, sir, somebody else is dispatching the ambulance. Okay, is she awake now? Hello?
Like the tone in his voice, like I don't know. It's no, genuinely. And then they like won't answer questions. He's panicking. And
is he exceedingly polite and well-spoken-ish with a southern drawl?
Yeah.
That sounds like Alex Murdaugh to me.
Yeah, exactly. But when the cops arrived, it did not look like just a fall down the stairs, an accidental fall down the stairs like he was claiming, because there was so much blood around the staircase. And they were just like, there's no, and she had like 7 lacerations in the back of her head. So.
From the owl claws.
Oh my God.
There is no owl. We'll get to that.
Yeah, so they just immediately started investigating him as a suspect, but his family stuck behind him, all his kids. It's kind of like a weird dynamic because most of his kids are not actually biologically his kids. He adopted 2 after their mother and father both passed away, and they were all best friends. And then come to find out how their biological mother passed away was also at the steps of a staircase, at the bottom steps.
With lacerations to the back of the head?
I believe so.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
As you can tell, I did no research for this case. We're trying to do this new thing where one of us doesn't do any research and they just ask questions and get surprised throughout the episode.
There you go.
Oh, I want to be that next.
Yeah.
Oh, deal. We'll take turns.
Do you want to start with the first death, or do you want to start with the wife?
You mean Elizabeth Ratliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with that. It was in Germany. I can't remember what year. Do you remember what year?
Yeah, I was just double checking to make sure that I understood it. It was...
Because Kathleen was murdered in 2001.
Right. I was double checking. 1997? That's when they got married.
Yeah. Kathleen.
1985. It was November of 1985.
Yep.
And Elizabeth Ratliff was 43 years old. She was found in her home in Germany by her nanny in the very early morning hours at the bottom of the stairs with splatters of blood all around her. At the time, they believed it was natural causes, but an autopsy concluded she died from an intracerebral hemorrhage, so a brain bleed, and they thought it might have been caused by a pre-existing blood disorder she had called von Willebrand's disease. They believed that disease may have made her dizzy enough to where she fell down the stairs, couldn't prevent or try to break her fall at all, and hit her head, which they said they thought explained the amount of blood at the bottom of the stairs.
Right.
But ironically, who was she friends with, Christina?
Michael Peterson, literally best friends. I think they lived right next door to each other. And
He and his then wife, Patricia, lived next to her. And here's an interesting twist, and maybe I'm the only one who thinks this is interesting, but Michael's profession was a novelist. He was a writer.
Why do you find that interesting?
Because writers can come up with bullshit stories, and they can try to figure out how would they write that scene, what would they say, what would they point to, all that kind of stuff. So I just think it's kind of interesting that he was a novelist.
Yeah, I can see that. And he also, I thought it was so interesting, the documentary on Netflix about this. He has cameras following him around for the entire investigation and trial. It's like him and his family and his kids, and it's supposed to like be super personable because he was out on his $850,000 bond. But then, rewind back to the death of Elizabeth Ratliff. She had 2 daughters with her husband who had passed away, I want to say like 2 years prior. And Michael and his then wife, Patricia, adopted their 2 daughters. And then when he moved from Germany, I think he was in the army or military, something like that. And when they moved back to North Carolina, the girls came with him, and then he remarried. I don't really know what happened with him and Patricia, but she's alive. So
yeah, I never saw anything with the first wife, but it looks like he married Kathleen in North Carolina in 1997. Does that sound right?
Yep.
And then she had a daughter, Caitlin, that he basically adopted and helped raise too.
Right. And she, I think, is the only kid that flipped on him. But it took a while because all the kids, I don't think the other kids ever doubted his innocence.
Well, so it's weird because Kathleen died in December of 2001, and he said he came into the house around 2:40 in the morning and found her unconscious. I think he said something about they had watched a movie together earlier in the evening and they'd been out drinking by their pool for hours.
Yep.
And that she went in to go to bed several hours earlier, and he stayed out there and drank more, I guess. But he said when he came in, he found her at the bottom of the stairs in a pool of blood.
Yeah, except the blood is not just a pool. It's like splattered everywhere and like slid all over the floor, and very, very gruesome.
It's not like she fell there and blood pooled from her
Right.
head. It's a scene that looks more like a homicide than an accident.
And
Right.
that's what happened in Germany in the 80s.
No, that was Kathleen.
No, I know.
Oh,
but that
sorry.
also happened in Germany in the 80s.
I don't think it was quite.
Death, bottom of the stairs, big pool of blood.
Yeah.
I don't think there was as much spatter then. That I recall, it was a big pool of blood at the bottom with her on the ground, the first victim. But with this one, it definitely looked like there was some sort of struggle, and clearly somebody actually slid in the blood.
Right.
So is a coincidence still plausible if 2 people that are semi-close to Michael, or close to Michael if you want to say that, both end up dead at the bottom of staircases years apart?
I'm going to let Christina give her answer, and then I have one too.
Sorry, I'm just needing the definition of that really quick.
Yeah, do you think it's likely that this was coincidence, or do you think it's not?
Yes.
It's too far out to be coincidental?
I think it's a little too far out to be coincidence, but I think one of the prosecutors mentioned in this case that they were like, let's say Elizabeth was an accident, like he didn't mean to or something, and she just fell down the stairs and died. He would know, or even if he had nothing, he wasn't there, he knew what that kind of scene looked like. So like just the connection, in general, like it's too similar.
So in my opinion, legally, there's this thing called the doctrine of chances. The doctrine of chances says when you look at 2 or more separate incidents, what is the chance that they're unrelated? You've got women who allegedly fell down the stairs. You've got women who have some sort of blunt force trauma to their head, initially claimed to be by falling or by an owl, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, as ridiculous as it sounds. And there's a pool of blood at the bottom, and they both die, and they're connected to him.
Right, either living with him or next door to him.
Right. So the doctrine of chances would say there's too many things there for it to be a simple coincidence. And whether, as Christina just said, he learned from that first case and saw, hey, that's what they labeled this to be. They labeled this to be an accident. She fell down the stairs. I'm going to make this one with my wife look like that. But, my mind automatically, as a prosecutor, goes to the nefarious side of things. Was he involved in the first murder as well? If you think about it, they lived next to each other. Their families were close. The husband died. Was there something going on between him and the first victim? And maybe she broke it off. Maybe she didn't. Maybe there wasn't anything. I don't know. But I think when you look at all the possibilities, I think you have to see that there's a connection.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's just too crazy.
Is it? I
Yeah.
mean, what if two people both had heart attacks instead? Or got into car accidents and hit trees or something?
But those aren't
Totally
the facts
different.
we have.
I know, but I'm just, playing devil's advocate here.
Then as a prosecutor, I would say those things are unrelated. But when you put them more closely together, where you have the same staircase involved or the same type of stairs,
Now, if
right?
it would have been the same staircase.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? And then you have, a pool of blood at the bottom, and you have injuries to the head, other injuries to the bottom. I think there's more there. And I think, quite honestly, they are connected because I don't know, Christina, what order you want to do this, but if we kind of talk about the first death, they initially did rule it an accident, right? But years later, based on other things that happened and with Kathleen's death, they exhumed her body in Germany and went back and looked at her again, right?
I think the same medical examiner looked at both of them and said the same thing, cited the same thing.
So what did they determine were the reasons that these were homicides and not accidents?
Blunt force trauma to the head that could not have been caused by falling down the stairs. They had multiple things that wouldn't have fit. And I think probably for the first death, they really didn't look at that as much as potential blunt force trauma. It was an easy, I don't want to say easy, but it was what they thought would be a legitimate write-off, as she had this disease. It may have made her dizzy. She likely fell down the stairs, and that's that. They didn't have a reason to suspect anything nefarious at that time or any criminality, but it certainly seems like when you look at it, they're connected.
But if they're saying that it's related to the blunt force trauma and the type of wounds that the original woman, what was her name in Germany again? Elizabeth had experienced, I don't understand. How do you miss that the first time around? And you're like, oh, I can see now that it's blunt force trauma. Like, you can see now?
No, they might not have been looking as closely at that. Sometimes when there's a scene and it's a plausible reaction that this person has this disease, this person fell down the stairs, this person was dizzy, that seems right. There's nothing nefarious. There's no break-in. There's not as much spatter, although I think there was some spatter in that case, just not nearly as much as there was with Kathleen. I think they look at the injury and they look at the disease, and that's an easy connection to make. And maybe they didn't look further at the time. Maybe they didn't look at the injuries to her face or to what part of her head. And I think medical examiners and investigators can go back and do not necessarily recreations, but they can do simulations to see if a person falls down the stairs at this rate from this height or even the top of the stairs, this is likely to happen. This is likely where you would, fall, you'd hit your head, you'd hit this, you'd hit that. But when they find evidence of other areas, I think that becomes the issue, right?
Yeah. And her blood had dried. Some of it had dried at the scene, Kathleen's, and he had called the police and they were there in 15 minutes. And when he called the first time, he was like, she's still breathing. And then all of a sudden the blood was dried and she was dead in 15 minutes. So it's just like they think she was there for a few hours.
Did they ever say why the first call disconnected?
He hung up, or that's what someone testified to.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and then he called back again. And he was like, are you coming? Are you coming?
I get if she's still breathing and you want to render some aid to your wife who's bleeding profusely, set the phone down, but you leave the line open.
Right.
How much time between calls?
Talk.
I mean, they got there in 15 minutes, so it had to be within that.
Between calls?
Yeah.
He called twice within the 15?
Yeah.
So even when he called the first time, even though he hung up, they were still on the way?
Yeah.
Because he called?
Yeah.
That's
He
interesting.
gave his address. He immediately, yeah.
Wait, he did give the address? I thought he just called and hung up the first time.
No. He called and I told you it was like Alec Murdaugh, like, we're at Moselle Road.
I thought you were saying the second time.
Oh, no. The second time he was like, where are you? Are you coming? Are you coming? She's not breathing. Now she wasn't breathing. And then.
Got you.
Yeah. And then they were like asking him questions and he was just like ignoring them and acting like he was crying and whimpering on the other end and then hung up.
His statement, too, that she must have slipped and fallen on the stairs because she was drunk, and then he threw out maybe she had Valium in her system. Just kind of seemed weird, like he's throwing that out there. That would have been something they could have concluded, too, from the autopsy. They do the post-mortem examination, and they do test bodily fluids, the blood, the urine, and they actually test the vitreous fluid, which is in the eye, and they can determine how much alcohol or drugs may be in a person's system. Has it been there a while? Is it new? And they can determine that by differentiating, is it in the urine, is it in the blood, is it in the vitreous fluid, because that will give you a time frame of, generally it will give you a time frame of how long those substances have been in a person's body.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure her blood alcohol content was like 0.07, I think.
So in Michigan, that wouldn't even be above the legal limit for driving.
Right. And
just below it.
Right. And the defense, their argument for her falling down the stairs was that she was going up the stairs and slipped and fell backwards. I'm like, so that much blood for 3 steps, but they were saying that she must have gotten up after the first hit and then got blood everywhere and then slipped in it and fell again because she was so drunk.
It's interesting. In his first phone call to 911, he says that she fell from 15 or 20 steps up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did.
Right.
And then the defense,
so was it
completely
15 or 20 up, or was it only 3 and she fell and slipped in her own blood? Mm-hmm. I think what happened is he hit her. I don't think the stairs necessarily were involved unless he pushed her from the top. But he hit her with something to cause that blunt force trauma. And the slipping in the blood was either her trying to get her way or him trying to get her even more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
What reason did he have for getting rid of his wife?
Well, there's a good answer to that.
I think it was financial. Maybe she had a life insurance policy? I don't know.
I don't know that it was that either, but there was a male escort who had testified that he had several sexual encounters with Peterson and that he was gay and bisexual, and Peterson claimed his wife knew that. Mm-hmm. Whether she did or not, we don't know. Maybe she found out and said, that's it, I'm leaving and I'm taking the kids.
Yeah, he was saying that she didn't care. She would have cared if it was a woman he was sleeping with, but a man was no threat to her, basically. And, I mean, I don't know. It's still cheating. I feel like he's
saying she didn't care, but we don't know that, obviously.
Correct.
Because
we don't know that. It's speculation on our part, but I mean, that could be one plausible motive. She was going to leave him. She was done. She didn't want to deal with it anymore. And, that could be the case.
So do you think that Michael Peterson's sexuality influenced how the jury perceived him?
Probably.
Yeah?
Maybe not his sex.
This was back in the early 2000s. Maybe not.
And it's in the South?
Yeah, Texas I think is where he was tried.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But they tried to, get out in front of that and just, you know what I mean? He wasn't ashamed about it. And then, the escort testified that he knew that Michael was married and he had said that he was in a happy relationship or something like that.
Okay, so that's positive.
Right. But
Myrene, and Christina can answer this too, should personal behavior unrelated to the crime factor in?
Sometimes it does, and it should, if you can show a nexus between the crime and a potential motive, or the crime and potential deviancy, but it has to be close. I don't know what the laws are where the case was tried, but in Michigan, we have a rule of evidence that makes us link it to be able to show that there's a common thread, whether it is by motive, opportunity, common plan or scheme, identity, absence of mistake. Those are some of the things we can use under MRE 404B to bring in someone's prior acts or prior behavior. We can't necessarily use it to show they acted in conformity with that character. So, for example, if person A murders somebody and then is on trial for murdering a different person, that's not an automatic thing the jury gets to hear. Although if you are a good prosecutor and you file that motion, you probably would be able to get that information in. But I do think, to answer your question, that some of that information does need to come in because the jury needs to have a well-rounded picture, not only of the victim, but also of the suspect when it fits the rules of evidence that let it in.
Do you think it fit the rule of evidence in this case?
I don't know all the details about what they brought in and why they brought that escort in. I think the way that it's worded in the articles that I read was that they were trying to show it as a motive for what may have happened. Either she found out and was going to leave him, or he didn't want to be married anymore and maybe he wanted to pursue that bisexual lifestyle, and the only way he could think to do it was to get rid of the wife. I don't know.
Why? Why not just go live your bisexual lifestyle with that
Because
hooker?
maybe he didn't want people to know his reputation meant something to him, kind of like Murdaugh. Maybe she threatened to take his kids and his money or all the money or whatever. I mean, we don't know, but there's definitely always a likely motive in circumstances like that, in my opinion.
I mean, it's cheating. Like, I feel like cheating is a motive a lot. And he just happened to be able to argue that she knew about it because it was a man. I don't know. I feel like it could be a motive, but I also, maybe she did know about it. But I think, because they said they had found on his computer pornography emails with all these different escorts and...
All men?
Yeah. He never cheated with a woman. He admitted that.
So the interesting part, it's not just one trial and he's done. He was convicted in 2003 of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But then the case gets overturned on appeal. And one of the reasons it gets overturned on appeal is because of one of the witnesses, and it was an expert the prosecutor brought in, a blood spatter expert, who was found to be suspect. And it didn't really give a lot of detail about what the word suspect was in some of the articles. Maybe, Christina, you can shed more light on that. But because his testimony was so damning, that became a problem. And I think that's why it got initially partly overturned because of that, right?
Yeah, I watched him give his blood spatter testimony because that's like the most interesting part in this, I feel like, is if this is from a fall or is this from someone...
Or an owl.
Or an owl. But
we'll get into the owl, John. I know you're just...
You keep saying that. You keep saying that.
It's coming up next. It's coming up next.
Oh, my God.
Part of the reason that the blood spatter expert, they had to like throw out the case or the case got overturned is because he claimed he was like this major expert, had worked on 500 cases about this, and he hadn't. He was just lying pretty much about a lot of his like what's the word? Experience and just
his expertise. Here's the thing. That's on the prosecutor. I'm going to be honest with you. When I bring in experts in my cases, I have done research or I've used them before. I go through their curriculum vitae or their resume to see what they know, how they know it, what is their experience, what is their education background, how long have they been doing this kind of work. I mean, that was on the prosecutor to make sure they did that right.
For sure. That's why I was like, that's like the one thing you need to like make sure it's a good, honest person. Like, I don't think you needed to, I don't know.
Probably trusted somebody.
Generally speaking, in cases like that, like in Michigan, we would use experts from the Michigan State Police Crime Laboratory for blood spatter. Generally speaking, there are renowned experts around the state and around the country that you can hire. So I don't know, where they found this person. This was back in the early 2000s, and maybe it was someone they used before, and maybe they just, I don't know, gave shitty testimony this time. Who knows? But let's make John happy, Christina, and talk about this whole little owl thing.
Yeah.
Finally.
I can't remember exactly, but I just know people think that the lacerations on her head line up with like the talons of an owl, and someone said that there was like debris or like a pine cone found in her hair or something. And
a few feathers.
Yeah, and a few feathers.
So in August of 2008, the defense attorney, who is an attorney who's a friend of the defendants, so already a little suspect, holds a press conference and publicly presents evidence supporting the idea that there was this wild owl somehow who attacked Kathleen inside the home, and that there were...
Was it inside? I thought they said when she was like walking into the house from the pool.
Oh, well, I thought maybe it came in with her, maybe, or something. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But in any event, they said that there were microscopic owl feathers in her hair and that the talons could have caused the lacerations found on her scalp. The problem with that is blunt force trauma isn't just going to be on her scalp with cuts. Blunt force trauma is going to be on her body. If she actually fell down those stairs, you're going to have bruising to her arms, her legs, her chest, her back, her butt, any of those areas, not just going to have lacerations on your scalp from an owl. I mean, come on. That sounds so ludicrous.
Yeah, I know. It sounds crazy to me too.
I don't know.
Pretty convincing
John,
for you.
you can't tell me you buy the owl thing. Come on.
Was there actually feathers?
Yeah, microscopic feathers sounds crazy, but did they actually prove?
There doesn't have to be evidence. You've got somebody who throws this out there, and we call it a red herring. They're throwing out some bullshit story to try to get one person, to try to get somebody to believe that there's another explanation other than the husband did this.
It sounds like your arch enemy's work.
Hey, it does, but let's not go there.
It won't.
I think that was thrown out after he was already convicted, though. Like, I think that was kind of like a internet sleuths, like...
So could they actually tie Michael Peterson to this murder? Did they actually prove this is how you murdered your wife? This is how you murdered your friend back in Germany in the 80s?
No.
Well, I don't think they ever prosecuted him for the Germany case, right?
No.
They only prosecuted him for Kathleen's. It gets overturned, and so they're going to go after him again. And so he gets released, I think, from jail.
Please.
Well, no, not yet.
Oh.
He gets released from jail before the second trial.
Oh.
He posts $300,000 in bail and is given house arrest and an ankle monitor. And then within a few years, when they retry the case, he pleads. And here's what I find interesting. So in the state where he was, they call it an Alford plea, which means he was allowed to plead to a reduced charge of manslaughter. And he didn't have to give a factual basis. So normally in any case, if you commit a crime and you want to plead guilty, you have to go in and tell the judge what you did that makes you guilty of this crime. So, for example, if you murdered somebody, you would have to go in and say, Judge, on this particular day in this city, in this county, I murdered person X, and this is what I did, and I did it deliberately and premeditated, blah, blah, blah. You have to give enough of a factual basis that meets the elements of the crime. But under this Alford plea thing, he is allowed to maintain his innocence the whole time, while acknowledging that prosecutors have enough evidence to convict him.
Right.
That sounds so weird to me.
I didn't even know that was a possibility. Like, I feel like a lot more people would
So does
do that.
So does the Alford plea mean that he's guilty, or does it mean that he's making a smart move?
It means that he thinks he's going to be convicted because there's enough evidence, so he's taken a plea deal. He's getting that murder charge with life without parole cut down to manslaughter, and that could be time served, quite
And
honestly. It was.
He's out.
So for him, that was a good deal.
So it was a smart move.
It was, but we don't have an Alford plea type thing necessarily in Michigan. We have where you're allowed to plead no contest, which means you can maintain your innocence, and a factual basis has to be given, evidence has to be given in the form of a police report or other generated facts that the judge has to find to convict you. But in this case, yeah, he pled to that manslaughter and he was sentenced to time served and he became a free man.
Absolutely crazy.
I don't know. I guess I'd like to see a little more evidence. I just find it weird that you've got two women in your life over 20 some odd years apart, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe 15 to 20. My math is hazy. Mm-hmm. But that both fell down the stairs, both had a large amount of blood spatter, and all of that kind of thing. I think one of the trials for Kathleen, they said that maybe he used like a fireplace poker or something.
Yeah, that was like a big part of the trial, I feel like. And then the defense, they said they never found it, so that's why it must be the murder weapon. He hid it. And then the defense was like, they found it later on and tested it, and I don't think there was blood on it, but also it had been years and probably cleaned if that was the murder weapon.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't find it right away, like fireplace pokers generally don't go missing. They stay by the fireplace
Right.
most of the time. And so if they found it years later and they tested it, he could have cleaned it. It could have deteriorated. I mean, there were things in the Bowman case where Bowman said he used a machete to start to cut up Andrea, and we found that later and tested it. And while there was a brownish substance on it, it was no longer viable to be tested as a biological substance.
Right.
So certainly that could be the case. But I think probably one of the things they looked at in those cases when that blood spatter expert really became important is cast off. So if you have a weapon and I'm reaching up with that weapon to come down on somebody's head, there's going to be cast off. I come down and hit you, blood's on it. I bring it back and the blood is going to flick backwards. It's going to be cast off on the ceiling, on the wall, or something else. And I want to say Kathleen's death, there was blood spatter everywhere, right?
Yeah, but there was one guy that testified that there wasn't any on like the ceiling or whatever. But then I think the prosecution was saying because she was face up, I don't know. I can't remember. But it was all over the wall. Yeah, all over the floor. I can't remember exactly about like the ceiling, but I think it would make sense if it wasn't on the ceiling, because if she like at the bottom of the staircase is where she fell, not where she was actually like beaten the whole time. I don't know.
Right. I mean, it may have started on the stairs. Maybe he chased her
Right.
and, got to her finally at the bottom of the stairs. Or if they're on the floor, you might not have the cast off on the ceiling, but you might have it on the wall or the
Right.
other area around you. The rails of the stair or that kind of thing. So that's a possibility too.
Yeah. And there was a lot definitely on like the baseboards and the wall and yeah, all that.
I don't know. Like, what do you think about the kids standing by him?
I think it's weird. I think he has like some kind of hold on them, or I don't know. I have no idea.
You don't trust their judgment?
I think it's just
I
too
think-
much of like a crushing worldview to realize that your dad killed your biological mother and your adopted mother. Like they called her mom, like all those kids. Like Kathleen was their mom. I think it's
Yeah.
just too crazy to accept. And he's like such a, like Myrene said, he's a novelist. Like he's a storyteller. Like he doesn't hesitate and he puts on a good show. Like he cries at trial while they're playing the 911 call. Like, I don't know. I don't believe him.
Yeah, I didn't believe him either.
But the
I
kids did.
read through everything and I thought, I think he did both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too.
So those kids are just dead wrong.
Probably, but they got their dad. Whatever.
And he's
It's
free.
not a matter of being dead wrong. It's a matter of they can't bring themselves to fathom that the dad that loved them, that took care of them, that was nice, would do something so horribly atrocious. And part of it is there probably were times where he was a great dad or a good husband, but they can't bring themselves to get to the part where they're getting past the trauma of their mom being brutally murdered or dying, and it was at the hands of their dad. They've already lost one parent, and now if they believed it, they would lose two.
Right. Well, for two of those girls, 4, they lost their dad and then their mom and then their other mom. And he was in prison, so they lost him too for a while. Kind of.
But it's not uncommon for children of people like this, of murderers, to not believe their parent did it. I mean, if you look at Murdaugh, Buster didn't believe his dad did it. If you look at OJ, from all reports that we could tell, his children didn't believe he killed Nicole.
We need to actually revisit that case. Somebody hit me up a few weeks ago and was like, you got to watch this documentary. They're like, we listened to your podcast and you got it all wrong. OJ didn't kill Nicole. OJ's son, who was sleeping with Nicole, his oldest son, killed
Jason.
Nicole. And OJ helped him cover it up because it was his son.
Well,
And he said there's a documentary that like proves it.
proves it.
And there's nothing that proves it. I mean, there may be a documentary and people believe it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't prove anything.
Diddy's kids stood behind him his whole trial too.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you look at a lot of these big cases like this, the children or the families stand behind the person because they can't allow themselves to believe my loved one is this horrible, atrocious, terrible, mean monster.
Also, all those men we just named are all rich. So, like, if you don't stand by your dad, there goes your inheritance probably.
Was this guy rich though?
Yeah. Super rich. He paid a $850,000 bond like that to get out, and then another $300,000
Wait.
after he had been in jail for 10 years.
So why do you think he cared about life insurance then?
No, I don't think. I don't even know if she had that. They said there was no financial motive.
But you did say that in the beginning. I'm not crazy, right?
No, yeah, I did say that.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Well,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
saying you're not crazy.
Thanks, man. Jesus.
Just kidding.
Jesus.
She said, just kidding.
Just kidding. You can't be mad at me when I say it nicely and smile.
I can't see you smiling. We can't see you when we do these episodes in your remote.
Well, trust me, I'm smiling.
Well, we'll take Alex's word for it.
You know, I think maybe in this case, if he was that wealthy, maybe he was afraid she was going to leave him, whether it was about the bisexual lifestyle or she just had enough or he was just a weird person or who knows what the reasoning was, but maybe she decided she'd had enough and she was going to take some of that money. And he's like, no, you're not. That's a
Right.
big motive a lot of times.
Or exposing his bisexuality. He didn't want that to be like public knowledge. His kids didn't know that until the trial. They didn't really care. But I mean, I feel like he was forced to come out.
People do things when they're desperate to hide a lifestyle. And we've talked about so many of those cases.
Yep. Like Alec and his oxy.
All right. So, John, you're hearing a lot of these details for the first time. Do you see a connection between the two?
Actually, about 2 minutes in, I realized that I've watched this documentary before.
I was going to say, it's been out a while.
Yeah, I've watched it. So
So what do you think?
the owl,
Really?
I'm telling you,
You genuinely
it's
think
possible.
it's
No, I mean, he probably did it or probably was involved, but it's just interesting when you can't definitively prove that.
Oh, yeah. He had also changed his shirt. His shirt, when they got to the crime scene, had not one splatter or drop of blood on it, just like Alec.
Yeah, because some cute police officers were coming over and he wanted to look good.
Yeah. He had to
Just
shower
in
and get
case.
it all
What's
off.
the purpose you change?
Exactly.
I mean, if your loved one's at the bottom of the stairs, you're going to be there cradling them and maybe taking your shirt off to put it on their wounds so that the blood, stops pouring out of their head. You don't go get a clean shirt.
Or if you have some blood on you, but you didn't do it and she actually did fall, like, I'm not hiding that. What? Like,
Right.
it'll all line up, like all the evidence. I don't know. It's freaking suspicious. And her blood being dried by the time they got there. He had time
Yep.
to shower.
And the poker missing.
Yep.
Yep.
But they found the poker.
Years later.
Years later. And who's to say it's the exact same one? He could have found one that's similar, or you just had a different poker. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just get the divorce, folks.
Right. It's not worth it.
Just get the divorce. It's okay. Yeah, and it's okay to be gay.
Right.
It's okay.
Did the documentaries that you guys saw give a reason why the daughter Caitlin kind of came out against him? Like what convinced her? I was just curious.
I think learning of the other Elizabeth, maybe. Because she did stand by him for a bit, and then once she found or just learned more information, and I think the coincidences and the similarities between the two, I think she was like, no way.
Because she was Kathleen's daughter, right?
Yes, from a previous marriage.
Right.
Yeah, she was not. I mean, she lived with them, but it's not his daughter.
Do you remember how old she was? I don't remember the ages of any of the kids.
She was 19.
I don't think they were little.
They were all over 18. She was 19,
Yeah.
one was 18, another 20, 27, 25, I think.
I wonder what the girls, I think it was Margaret and Martha that he adopted from Elizabeth when she died. I wonder what their thoughts were when they heard the details of, okay, now their mother's body was exhumed and she died from blunt force trauma. Do you think they just were indoctrinated to believe his line of bullshit? Or do you think maybe they questioned it too?
No, I think they believed it. And they were horrified because they had to sign off on the exhumation of their mom's body. And they were crying, talking about it on camera. But the defense was arguing that they should have used an unbiased, different medical examiner because they used the same one that did Kathleen's autopsy. So they just called it rigged and biased, I'm pretty sure.
It's interesting to me that the two girls had to sign off on the exhumation of their mom for the second autopsy, because normally, you get a search warrant to do that, and the state says, here's your authority. They don't usually go to the loved one. but that was Germany, I think. So maybe their laws are different.
Yeah.
Much more thoughtful, apparently.
Right.
It's not about being thoughtful, but what if the only living relative you have is the suspect, and they're going to say, no, you can't exhume the body. Too bad for you.
That's true.
Then what?
Yeah. I'm actually surprised
that's why
they
you
did.
have to have a legal mechanism to do something other than get permission from the family when it could be the family who did it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hopefully there's a way around that loophole.
Yeah.
I think Germany has bigger problems.
That's
Let's
all.
not go picking on Germany.
That's all I have for this.
That's all you got? Nothing
Yeah.
else?
That was good.
Any questions you have lingering in your mind, John, besides the owl theory?
It's just the owl.
That owl's going to haunt me. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if you also agree that the owl theory makes a lot of sense, let Myrene know. She would love to hear from you. BTV
And just know.
What? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and just know it just doesn't make sense, but that's okay.
But if you think it does, that's okay. You're entitled to that opinion. Let us know. BTV_pod, wherever you do the social media thing.
Let us know what your thoughts are. Give us a rating. We'd love to see those. We love to see the comments too. So let us know how we're doing and what other cases you might be interested in us analyzing next.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.